Right now, an event is unfolding that has every major space agency on high alert. The interstellar object identified as 𝗺𝗂𝗂𝘂𝘁𝗲, only the third visitor ever confirmed from outside our solar system, just achieved the impossible. It altered its path, not slightly, and certainly not subtly, but in a manner that defies every established law of celestial mechanics. For the first time in history, the International Asteroid Warning Network, IWN, a global defense coalition endorsed by the United Nations, has started tracking an object originating from another star system. But why this specific object? And why now? Because the new data indicates that 𝗺𝗂𝗂𝗂𝘂𝘁𝗲 is not where it should be. It isn't following the predictions of NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. It isn't following orbital models, and it certainly isn't following the fundamental rules of physics. If this object truly shifted its trajectory during its approach to the Sun, then we aren't just witnessing an astronomical anomaly. We could be witnessing intent. The IWN has a single purpose: to detect and prepare for threats that endanger life on Earth. Until recently, this coalition of the world's most powerful observatories, from NASA and the ESA to China's Purple Mountain Observatory, has monitored only near-Earth asteroids, debris born within our own system. But in late October 2025, the network made a stunning announcement. For the first time, they would begin tracking an interstellar body, 𝗺𝗂𝗂𝗂𝘂𝘁𝗲. The official justification was to improve astrometric precision on cometary bodies. However, the timing was incredibly suspicious. Just days earlier, 𝗺𝗂𝗂𝗂𝘂𝘁𝗲 had vanished behind the Sun, and independent astronomers had begun reporting slight deviations in its expected position. It was scheduled to reappear along a predictable arc. Instead, the math simply stopped working. Harvard astrophysicist Avi Loeb, author of the Loeb scale, had already rated the likelihood of 𝗺𝗂𝗂𝗂𝘂𝘁𝗲 being artificial as a 4 out of 10. Following these new anomalies, the IWN quietly upgraded the object to a priority target. Hundreds of telescopes were suddenly redirected to track it, almost as if Earth was preparing for something we weren't meant to see coming. The first indication that something was wrong came from Earth Exists, a small but respected independent research collective. When they compared live telescope feeds with predictions from JPL's Horizon system, their findings made headlines overnight. 𝗺𝗂𝗂𝗂𝘂𝘁𝗲 wasn't just off course by a few hundred kilometers. It was displaced by 1.1 million kilometers, roughly 3 times the distance between the Earth and the Moon. Crucially, the displacement wasn't random. While the object's distance remained consistent, its position in the sky shifted laterally, as if it had slid sideways through space. This violates orbital mechanics. While comets can drift forward or backward due to outgassing, jets of vapor acting like natural thrusters, they do not move laterally. Achieving this would require an immense external force, or an internal one. Even 𝗺𝗂𝗂𝘂𝘂𝘁𝗲, the largest comet ever recorded, couldn't produce such power or precision. Yet somehow, 𝗺𝗂𝗂𝗂𝘂𝘁𝗲 had done exactly that. If 𝗺𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝘂𝘁𝗲 shifted its orbit intentionally, someone must have noticed before the general public. Attention immediately turned to NASA and JPL. As early as September, NASA's Mars orbiters were perfectly positioned to image the object at close range during its solar flyby. Yet, not a single frame has ever been released. While internal sources claim the data is still under analysis, others suspect something more deliberate: censorship. If those images reveal structural geometry or light behavior inconsistent with a natural body, NASA would have every reason to delay their release. In a recent publication, Avi Loeb noted that 𝗺𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝘂𝘁𝗂𝘂 exhibited an anti-tail, a jet of material pointing toward the Sun, which is an extremely rare phenomenon. However, after the Mars encounter, the tail flipped, suddenly flowing away from the Sun again, as if the object had mechanically reoriented itself. No natural comet has ever reversed its jet direction so cleanly. Despite the strangeness, NASA insists this is routine cometary activity. But the question remains, if it is routine, why is the Asteroid Defense Network involved at all? By the end of October, new tracking data confirmed the world's fears. The deviation was real. Over a span of just 19 hours, the positional discrepancy widened by over 4 arc minutes, equating to hundreds of thousands of kilometers. Orbital analysts calculated that maintaining such a drift would require a lateral velocity of nearly 4 kilometers per second, more thrust than some of our own deep space probes can produce. Theories exploded across the scientific community. Some blamed outgassing, others pointed to solar wind. But solar wind does not push sideways. If the data is correct, 𝗺𝗂𝗁𝗁 would require a propulsion system capable of both sustained acceleration and precision maneuvering. Meanwhile, an IWN workshop designed to train astronomers on unpredictable cometary behavior filled up within hours. Behind the scenes, NASA's Planetary Defense Office quietly raised its monitoring level to the tier reserved for potentially hazardous asteroids. The irony is that the object is moving away from Earth, not toward it. So why treat it as a threat? Some believe the answer lies in something even stranger. It may be planning another turn. Just as astronomers thought the anomaly had stabilized, 𝗺𝗂𝗁𝗁 changed direction again. This time, it wasn't a slight deviation. It was a full correction. Ground-based observatories in Spain, Chile, and Japan detected a secondary deflection, smaller than the first, but perfectly aligned with the object's original trajectory. It was as if it had corrected its own path. This was no random drift. The movement was symmetrical, exact, and calculated, the kind of correction a spacecraft executes after an automated navigation check. The IWN issued an internal alert marked pattern recognition event, indicating behavior that matches known natural phenomenon. Simultaneously, the European Space Operations Center, ESOC, sent an encrypted update to member agencies confirming that 𝗺𝗂𝗁𝗁 had produced measurable acceleration inconsistent with gravitational influence. In simple terms, the object had fired something. But fired what? When the Very Large Telescope in Chile analyzed its infrared emissions, it discovered a sudden spike in thermal radiation. It was a burst lasting 12 minutes, followed by complete cooling. It looked exactly like a controlled engine igniting and then shutting off. Whatever 𝗺𝗂𝗁𝗁 was, it had just proven it could move on its own. The moment this data went public, every space agency scrambled. NASA doubled its monitoring schedule. China reactivated its 𝗺𝗂𝗁 relay satellites and radio arrays, normally used for lunar missions, to track deep space frequencies from the object's vector. The European Space Agency deployed emergency protocols from its Planetary Defense Office, a move typically reserved for imminent impact events. Officially, this was for coordinated observation. Unofficially, it was panic. Scientists from Caltech and the University of Tokyo began comparing the acceleration pattern of 𝗺𝗂𝗁𝗁 to known artificial propulsion systems. The results were eerie. The heat curve of the burst didn't match any chemical reaction or known ion drive. Instead, it resembled a magneto-hydrodynamic acceleration signature, the kind produced when charged plasma is guided by electromagnetic fields. This is technology humanity has only theorized for interstellar travel. And it wasn't just propulsion. The object's rotation rate, previously stable, began to fluctuate in harmonics, repeating every 247 seconds. At first, astronomers thought it was tumbling, but the pattern was too precise. It was communicating through motion. With each new observation, the International Asteroid Warning Network expanded its scope. What began as a scientific collaboration was now operating like a defense task force. The object's new heading pointed not toward interstellar space, but toward the outer planets. Specifically, its adjusted trajectory intersected with Jupiter's orbital path. Analysts calculated that within months, 𝗺𝗂𝗁𝗁 would pass dangerously close to the gas giant, entering its magnetosphere, a region capable of generating immense energy. If this was a coincidence, it was an astonishing one. But if it wasn't, the object was preparing for a deliberate maneuver, a gravity assist, using a planet's motion to gain speed or change direction. That was the moment global monitoring reached what NASA calls Level 3 contingency. It meant the object's movement was active, intentional, and increasingly unpredictable. Yet, despite the rising tension, something even stranger began to occur. The frequency of radio interference across Earth's observatories started synchronizing, all matching the rotational pulse of 𝗺𝗂𝗁𝗁𝗂𝗁 Atlas. The planet itself was beginning to resonate with the object's signal. Then, without warning, every observatory tracking 𝗺𝗂𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁 Atlas went dark. In less than 10 minutes, telemetry from Chile, Hawaii, Italy, and South Africa simultaneously froze. The deep space network lost contact. Even China's radio arrays reported total silence across multiple frequencies. When the data streams finally resumed 47 minutes later, they all showed the same thing. 𝗺𝗂𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁 Atlas had vanished. It wasn't destroyed, and it wasn't hidden by the sun. It was simply gone, missing from every registered coordinate. But a faint echo remained. A low-frequency hum, undetectable to the human ear but measurable by sensors, pulsed across the network once every 247 seconds. Scientists initially assumed it was background interference, but the timing was too perfect. Each pulse coincided with the object's last known spin period, as if the signal was still out there, bouncing across space, echoing its final position. The IWN officially marked the event as Interstellar Signal Anomaly 2025-11, classifying it under restricted access. However, one detail leaked. During those 47 minutes of blackout, telescopes briefly registered a flash, faint, directional, and aligned perfectly with Jupiter's orbit. The object hadn't disappeared. It had jumped. In the hours following the blackout, chaos erupted within the global astronomical community. The IWN released no statement. NASA remained silent. China's Deep Space Network issued a single line of data before wiping its archives clean. Tracking anomaly terminated. Object unobservable. For a full week, the world had no idea where 𝗺𝗂𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁 Atlas had gone. Then, late one night, the James Webb Space Telescope detected something faint, a flash of reflected light moving at impossible velocity, streaking just beyond Jupiter's orbit. When analysts compared the position with orbital mechanics, the results stunned them. The object hadn't decelerated or drifted. It had performed what physicists call an instantaneous vector relocation. In simple terms, it had changed position faster than the speed of light would allow. That shouldn't be possible. For days, scientists tried to rationalize the data, blaming sensor glitches or background radiation. But then came the confirmation. The ESA's Gaia Observatory, orbiting 1.5 million kilometers from Earth, picked up an identical reflection exactly 247 seconds after Webb's detection. The timing was exact. The signal had jumped, as though the object had duplicated itself across space-time using the same resonant frequency it had been broadcasting for months. Every time that pulse was detected, it didn't fade, it multiplied. It was as if 𝗺𝗂𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁 had learned how to use gravity itself as a bridge, moving through the very fabric of space-time. Then came the most disturbing discovery of all. The IWN Command Center in Vienna received a priority transmission marked Level Omega. It contained a partial data stream reconstructed from the blackout window, the missing 47 minutes when all observatories went silent. When decrypted, the data wasn't telemetry or images. It was binary code, a structured transmission embedded inside the network itself, synchronized with the pulse sequence of 𝗺𝗂𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁. When decoded, it formed coordinates, but not for space, for time. The location matched the orbit of Jupiter, but the timestamp didn't. It pointed forward exactly 6 years into the future. At first, analysts dismissed it as corrupted data. But as the reconstruction continued, the horrifying truth became clear. The coordinates weren't for Jupiter. They were for Earth. It was a trajectory marker, precise to within kilometers, indicating where 𝗺𝗂𝗁𝗁𝗁𝗁 would intersect with our planet's orbital plane in the year 2031. The object hadn't escaped the solar system. It had set a return point. The file was immediately locked under the Asteroid Hazard Level 10 protocol, the classification used for civilization-level threats. Every national space agency denied its existence. And yet, 3 months later, amateur astronomers in Australia began picking up faint radio echoes repeating the same 247-second pulse. But this time, the signal wasn't coming from deep space. It was coming from inside the asteroid belt. The signal wasn't drifting away anymore. It was circling back. That was when the asteroid warning network went dark permanently. All data, public feeds, and open observation logs vanished from the internet. The official reason? System restructuring. The truth is unknown, but insiders claim that a private network of encrypted observatories was established, operating outside government jurisdiction under the codename Project Helios. Their mission is to track whatever 𝗺𝗵 has become and to prepare for its return. Because maybe the object wasn't just maneuvering through space. Maybe it was mapping it, studying our gravity, our orbit, our resonance. Maybe it wasn't fleeing from something at all. Maybe it was waiting for alignment. Now, every 247 seconds, a faint pulse still echoes across the solar system. Weak enough to blend with the cosmic background, but strong enough to remind us that the story isn't over. The world may have forgotten about 𝗺𝗵, but the universe hasn't. So, if this story made you question what is really moving out there and what intelligence could be guiding something across the stars, don't look away. Subscribe to this channel. We uncover the discoveries that agencies won't admit exist. Turn on notifications because when 𝗺𝗵 returns, it might not just pass by. It might be coming home. I'd love to hear what you think about this, so drop a comment below. If you enjoyed our conversation today, please share this video and subscribe to help the channel grow. Every bit of support counts.